good elections means a good democracy. People will not have faith in democracy unless the elections are fair, free, and credible.
Mr. Vinod Zutshi is a veteran Indian Administrative Service officer. Throughout his career, Mr. Zutshi has been recognized for his exceptional leadership and administrative acumen, including the prestigious National Award for Election Management. Sir, during your tenure with the Election Commission of India, you oversaw the administration of numerous elections. Could you share your insights?
Lots of misgivings, misperceptions about this EVM, that it is not reliable. Earlier days, we used to conduct elections. Now, those were the ballot paper regime. Unless youth participates in the election, overall voting percentage will not rise for it.
The Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, the first IIT to be established in India in 1951, is recognized as an institute of national importance. In line with the institute's motto, Excellence in Yoga, the Public Policy and Governance Society of IIT Kharagpur considers it to be a great honor to host Mr. Vinod Zutshi for an insightful discourse as a part of its Policy Podcast series. Our guest is a veteran Indian Administrative Service officer from the 1982 batch of the Rajasthan cadre. With a career spanning over 3 decades, he has held various key positions within the Indian government, showcasing his expertise in governance, administration, and policy implementation. Throughout his career, Mr. Zutshi has been recognized for his exceptional leadership and administrative acumen. He has been awarded numerous accolades for his service, including the prestigious National Award for Election Management. His insights and expertise are highly sought after, making him a prominent figure in public administration circles. Mr. Zutshi, your distinguished career in the Indian Administrative Service has encompassed over 35 years. What were the primary motivations that led you to join the IS, and how did initial experiences shape your professional trajectory?
Okay, so Manta, see, I would like to be very frank. Uh, the primary motivation behind the joining the civil service and ultimately getting into IS was, a little bit of self motivation and recognition by people around me, including my own fellow students at the school level, my faculty, the teachers, also my relations. I was academically very bright. I was a topper throughout, whether it is school and then maybe in the college also. In the graduation, I was a gold medalist, and subsequently I did MBA from Faculty of Management Studies. So when you are academically bright, you know it very well yourself, and people also keep telling you and reminding you again and again, ki, look, you are good for taking this examination, which needs good academic qualification and brilliance. So that was one of the first motivations that you get as you grow up. Number two, the idea of doing management, you need to be a graduate. So I did a BSc, so that was enough to take me to take the exam. But ultimately, I would also like to advise people like you or those who are aspiring for getting into civil services that my intention was first to become self-sufficient. So I did MBA and I took up a job also, because the first requirement is that you should be mentally and very composed. You should have your future well in control, in the sense that you are not just solely banking on the civil services. But it's an exam and nobody can take guarantee. Even the toppers, if you ask them, they would say that I was not sure whether I will even get it. So I thought that I'll become self-sufficient. So now coming to MBA was basically a stepping stone to get a job, and simultaneously, but ultimately goal was the IAS. And why this career was considered by me as to be the best, the academic thing apart, you see, I like public services. And incidentally, I took up a job in a company which was a public sector undertaking. And I liked the objectives for which the company was made and created. And I also was exposed to the working of the government while I was there for 3-4 years in the service. So I felt that the government is one organization which can influence the growth of the country most. It is guiding the entire economy through its policies, through its legislations. So rest of the system is so much dependent and banking on the policies of the government that you become a very important contributor to the national cause. I was collector Jaipur, and we had a population of about 40 lakh, 4 million. Now, any decision taken by the collector and district magistrate would affect that many people. So you understand my point. And then as you grow up, you come to the state level, then you affect crores of people in your own sector. Then when you come to the national level, which I did, then you are affecting the whole of country. So a good decision, good work in this service will have a lot of repercussions, and it will expand in I don't know what proportions, I should say geometrical proportions, or much more than that. So that is a big motivation. When you take up a service, you are not contained in a small area and doing your job. You are basically affecting the lives of people, and you can make their lives happier.
Sir, you worked in Jaipur, right, for in the first part of your life, and later then the state level and then the national level. So, how has the difference in what is the difference in working for the various stratas of the Indian governments?
So see, the role and the scope both are, they keep changing, uh, and even the I would say the content, uh, or the profile of your postings, the job that you do within the service, they also keep changing. For example, the first 10 years or so, an IS officer spends time in the district, in the administration, basically district administration. So you start with, after training of 2 years in Masuri and in the district, then you get posted as a sub-divisional magistrate, and then you may go up to additional district magistrate, and finally you become collector district magistrate and remain there for 3, 4, 5 districts. I was collector district magistrate at 5 times, in 4 districts and 5 times. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that is the time that the IS officer, he kind of administers a district, the problems of the district. He's basically he's basically the custodian of the government. He's the spokesperson of the government at the state level, and he does everything that is required by the people of his district. Now, starting with law and order, starting with keeping peace, starting with giving all kinds of minimum facilities, water, power, good roads. So, and of course, revenue administration. We collect revenue in the administration, because ultimately the state needs money to run the state. So these are, but they are very diverse. We have we have some role in agriculture also. We have role in cooperatives also. We have role in industry. So basically, everyone within the district, at the district level, whether it is Department of industry, whether it is Department of Agriculture, whether it is tourism, they all report to the collector and seek guidance from him. So that is one. Once you go into the state level, so you are posted, at the state level, either as a director to begin with, where you are handling, say, for example, director of tourism. So you're looking after the tourism department, but there is another level which is the secretary tourism, above you, those who are sitting in the secretariat. So within the state, you have two levels. One is that you are a field officer of the state, and then you advance to the secretariat level. So that is number two. So you spend about 10 years or so, in this particular role. Then if you are willing to come to the center at the national level, you come as joint secretary, rise to the additional secretary, and then finally, if you get empaneled as the secretary in the government of India, then you become secretary in some department or in the ministry. Now these are three different levels. National level, you make policies and you implement them, and the scope of those policies is national throughout the country. Anything decided at the national level as secretary will affect the whole country. Similarly, at the state level, any policy as secretary of state you decide or you formulate will affect the whole state. So this is how the working is. But in any case, you are related to governance and administration throughout your career at all the levels.
Sir, so as the Secretary of Ministry of Tourism, you spearheaded several key initiatives to bolster tourism in India. So could you elaborate on the most impactful projects you undertook and the strategies you employed, and also the significant challenges you encountered in this period?
Well, that's a good question. So as I mentioned a while ago, that the role of Secretary Tourism or Secretary to Government of India. So our idea was to formulate policies and take decisions at the national level, which will affect, you can say, millions of Indians. Now, I would recall some of the, major initiatives that we took, and they have gone a long way, and it would certainly help, and it did help. So my role basically was to increase the tourism growth. Incredible India, despite being such a vast country with so much of treasure in tourism, we have this feeling that still the foreign tourist footfall is not as much as many other countries. So the focus in my tenure was how to grow tourism, how to bring more and more foreign tourists, how to make domestic tourists move more within the country. Now, for that, let me tell you what we achieved. We achieved about, the growth of foreign tourist footfall in my tenure of almost 2 years was, in first year it was about 11%, then the next year it was 15%, which was very pretty high. Normally it used to be always in single digit. So at that time, we could record double digit growth. Similarly, in domestic tourism also, we could register about 13%. So having a double digit growth is phenomenal, because the world tourism at that point in time on those years was growing at about 3 to 4%. So compared to 3 to 4%, if India grows at 13 or 15%, it was a big achievement. Now, how this achievement happened? So what we did was, it was a multi-pronged strategy. Firstly, we focused on a lot of promotion, and Incredible India 2.0 campaign was launched. There was a gap of about 3-4 years, and in fact, we were not able to take up campaign, advertisement, publicity in the international market for almost 4 years. So now after that, we started, very aggressive campaigning. Now that helped a lot. Secondly, we also promoted domestic promotion. At that time, Ministry of Tourism was only promoting the international market, but we thought that we should give a holding hand to the domestic tourist states also, which were they did not have enough resources to kind of publicize their own assets and tourism offerings. So we started that as well. Another game changer that was brought in my time, Samantha and Lavanya, is that we started e-visa. Now you know that anyone who comes to our country has to have a visa. But the earlier visa regime was like this, that you go to the embassy or our high commissioner, and then take a visa, go to their office and all. Now, Government of India started this e-visa, and we pushed for tourism particularly. Now, what is happening is, for 161 countries, and now it has gone to 168 countries. Anyone, suppose if Samantha is staying in England or UK, and he wants to visit India as a tourist, so he goes to a portal, and there is a 1.5-page document which you have to fill up and send it across online, sitting in England from your laptop. And within 3, 4, 5 days after a brief verification, you get your visa, e-visa, in your inbox. Right? You download the e-visa and board the plane and come to Delhi. When you are in Delhi, at International Airport of Delhi, you are subjected to biometrics, right? Just to check whether you are the same Samantha. That much identification is done, and you are in. Now, this has never happened before. So this e-visa, we pushed a lot, and this, I think, has been one of the biggest achievement, which gives me a lot of satisfaction also. Then we also started social media advertisements and digital advertisement. Earlier, it used to be either print or electronics and TV and all. So that was another thing. Then another thing very helpful, especially for women travelers, is that we started a tourist helpline. The tourist helpline is basically a 24/7 information / helpline. Anyone sitting anywhere in the world can dial that number and can call up the control center and find anything about tourism in India. And in case of crisis and emergency, the person who's calling can also seek help. In case there is any problem, something happens with either a woman traveler or any kind of thing. So, and this was in 12 languages. So this, with 12 languages, this helpline almost covered the whole world. And this has again been a very big game changer. We also focused on tourism infrastructure, basically to bring in more and more infrastructural facilities. I'm not talking of airports or roads and the trains. Those are core infrastructure. We focused more on how the tourists can be facilitated around a destination. So there was a project called Swadesh Darshan and Prashad. So in my own tenure, I remember I must have sanctioned at least 50 projects worth 5,000 crores to various states. The money is passed on to the state governments, and then they spend money, for tourist facilitation. Another thing is very important, Sumanta, that India needs a lot of money as private investments, both from domestic investors as well as FDI. So in my time in 2016, we conducted a Incredible India Global Investor Summit, Tourism Investor Summit. It was a big success. We hosted in the Vigyan Bhavan premise, and it was a big success, and that led to more and more investments coming into India in tourism. And also, last but not the least, what we did was that we integrated the efforts of the state governments with the center. Normally, everyone worked in silos. So Rajasthan will work in its own way, Odisha will work in its own way, Bengal will. But what we did was we integrated, and we kind of had meetings, conferences with the state secretaries also, and basically brought a synergy, as you know, synergy within the tourism sector. So these are, I think, to my mind, in very brief manner, I could recall, those things which, but this process is on, Sumanta and Lavanya. Whoever has come after me, he has picked up those things and gone further, and it will go on and on. That is the job of the secretaries when they come. Everyone does something. And another thing which I forgot is we initiated a new policy, a national tourism policy, 2015 we started, and we kind of posed and presented before the government. So these are some of the initiatives which I think I'm proud of, and maybe it may have brought some good results later on.
Sir, that was insightful to say the least. Sir, from my research, I've also come to know that you were also the Deputy Election Commissioner of India. Sir, during your tenure with the Election Commission of India, you oversaw the administration of numerous elections. Could you share your insights, like how the background machinery works and how difficult it is for the officers at the highest level to maintain the
Yes.
decorum
So,
of the election?
yes. Yes. This is another area or sector where I worked for very long, and in the Election Commission of India, and that was one of the best periods in my career, which I think I had. It was not just in terms of doing my job properly, but the excitement of conducting elections in this great country, the largest democracy, and especially the general elections, which you have just seen, like 2024. I conducted 2014, Lok Sabha elections, which everyone calls as, the largest festival of the largest democracy, and all eyes of the. So we are the leaders, in election governance, and there's no doubt about it. I have been to many conferences, international conferences. I have also gone as an expert on elections to Jordan to guide them, and it's not just the guidance which we may be giving regularly to the other countries. The other countries also visit us even today. And I'm a resource person. There is an institution called Triple IDEM under election management in Dwarka, Delhi, which hosts people from other countries. Now, coming to the challenges are many. Indian elections, as I said, are unique, the largest democracy. But at the same time, we maintain electoral integrity, which are talked about everywhere. Now, when I say electoral integrity, it means lots of things. Firstly, we have an agency called Election Commission, which is very powerful, which is quite autonomous, and all its powers emerge out of the Constitution of India. Now, a constitutional body has its own standing. So they are the people who control the entire election machinery. Right? And when I say that election machinery, it means they conduct they make the electoral rolls. The Indian electoral rolls are considered to be very healthy. When I say healthy electoral rolls, it means nobody should be missed out, nobody should be left out. The effort is that, though there are people who get left out, youngsters like you also get left out, for the reason that, whenever you want to become a voter, you have to sign a paper. It has to be willingly given to the Election Commission. Nobody can make you a voter without your signatures. So the prerogative is on the person who wants to become a voter, but the kind of motivation, the kind of I would say the promotional activities which are being done by the Election Commission, we have come to a stage where very few electors have been left out. So that is one very big challenge. Another very big unique feature of Indian elections is the electronic voting machine. Now, you are a technology students, both of you, right? And I remember when I think of IIT, I think of there is a technical committee under Election Commission, and we used to have a lot of meetings about how to improve EVMs further. And there's another mechanical machine called VVPAT, which has been attached. I don't know whether you have been able to vote this time or not. So we had a technical committee, and in that technical committee, we had lots of IIT professors, who used to give their opinions and guide the Election Commission. So EVM is very unique in the sense that within no time you're able to conduct elections. Now think about 4th June. You may have also been very inquisitive to know the results. Now, in earlier days, maybe you were not even born at that time, we used to conduct elections. I conducted way back in 1984, and then subsequently many elections. Now, those were the ballot paper regime. So in ballot paper, you can imagine there are lakhs of ballot papers. So they are first of all shuffled, then they are stacked, then they are counted, and then they are recounted and then recounted. So the whole process on counting used to take more than 36 hours at times. Now today we have elections in which you bring the EVM, you press a button and the results come. Right? Now, this is the kind of, and all countries are envious of Indian elections, I tell you, because of our EVM. Nobody has even been able to. And although there may be lots of misgivings, misperceptions about this EVM, that it is not reliable, it is not. I can assure and I can guarantee, being as a part of the election commission for 6 years, and we have seen how we have been able to kind of reject and make prove all the allegations baseless. It is absolutely robust, it is absolutely reliable, and it is absolutely dependable. It is not hackable. So this is another very big strength, friends, for about the election commission. Then there are many things when the elections happen, uh, there are lots of players. You have political parties raising objections. You have candidates, who are vying to win the elections. Then there are voters who have problems, facilitation and all. So while in your election commission, you address to all the things, which somebody has a grievance you have to address. And it's a very sensitive kind of, work that you do, because if there is any issue with regard to a very level playing field, if there is any allegation of being partisan, you know, then the neutrality of the election commission goes away. So this is the biggest challenge, that how to create a level playing field for everyone. Number two, how to bring equity, how to bring justice to everyone, and how to address the grievances, promptly. Now, this is a very, very unique example of good management. It's a success story, basically. If you talk of governance and management within a specific period of time, within 2 months' time, you are addressing all the issues related to elections in government in the entire country, and then coming out with elections which are not only fair and free, they are also credible. Now, credible elections is another India's strength, where after the results, if there is a change of government, one party, ruling party, gives way to the other party. Please come and occupy the chair. Where else would you find such a smooth transition of power? So, friends, we should be very proud of our elections. And coming to uh, people like you, the youth, today India is a young country. You know that 65% of the people of the population, they are below 35 years. So, youth is very important. Unless youth participates in the elections, you know, the overall election performance, overall voting percentage will not rise further. Today, it is definitely rising gradually. It's come in 66, 67% range. But the need is how to address the remaining 33% people and to bring them to the polling station. And youth is one of them. So, in all, I would say Election Commission's role, Samantha and Lavanya, has been extremely enjoyable, I would say. And I was happy that I could conduct elections almost of all the states in the country, whichever were given to me, whether it is West Bengal. I used to come to West Bengal. I even came to Midnapur for election meetings. I visited Calcutta many times, basically to review the elections in 2011 and then 2014, and then also Uttar Pradesh and many more states. So it was a very, very enriching experience, and I'm proud to be a part of the this constitutional body, which has assumed, which is one of the most, I would say, respected constitutional bodies of our country.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have one follow-up question. Sir,
Yeah.
like this time in the Lok Sabha election, I was a first-time voter, but I have recently noticed that the privileged youth tend to become apolitical. So this tends to pose a great threat to healthy elections. How can we ensure their enthusiasm?
Of youth, you mean to say?
Yes.
Yes. So I have just now hinted on that particular point before you could ask this question. Now, there are reasons, Sumanta, and I would not put entire responsibility on the youth for not coming to the polling station. Now, first of all, what I feel is, it is not apathy so much, it is more of ignorance, right? And it is lack of motivation. So there is a disconnect. Normally what happens is, the political narrative which is made during elections and even before elections, it is addressed to people who are not youth, who are beyond, who are maybe beyond 30 years. Even the political narrative or persons who make, they think that youth may not understand these things. But today, uh, the way youth is emerging as a power in the country, there is a need to connect the youth with what is happening in the country. So youth may be interested in cricket, youth may be interested in social media, but youth has to be made interested in the politics of this country also, in the governance of this country, in administration of the country at the district level, state level. So That kind of connection has to be made. Now, it has to also start from the academic curricula. I feel that elections, governance, administration should be a part of curriculum right in the beginning stage, school stage. That will give some exposure. You have geography, you have kind of history and social sciences and social studies, which give some idea about constitution and all. But then it needs to be built up further. After you complete your schooling, even the social studies things, everything is gone. Then you follow your IIT and chemical engineering or whatever. Now, basically, there has to be some subject. Number two, the governments or the ruling parties, they have to connect the youth also. And once the youth is connected with the politics and with the governance, I'm sure that they would understand their power. They would they would be motivated enough to be a voter. Now, to become a voter, the election commission does a lot of promotional activity. Please come file form 6 bhariye. Unless you fill up form 6, you will not become a voter. Then form 6 is filled up. Once they are done, then okay, get your identity card made. If that is made, or that is also fine. Then comes election. Please come and vote. So you have the vote. You have become a voter. You have the epic card, but you don't come to the polling station. So the whole exercise goes waste. So what is required is that, and more so because the age of a voter has been reduced to 18 years. So what is required is a little bit of motivation from the youth side and little bit of bringing connection with the Indian governance system and political system by the people in power. These are the two things which I think we need to do in the next few years. Commission is doing lots of sweep activities, but I would say that within your IIT Kharagpur, I would say that why don't you have a seminar, on elections, your rights, your responsibilities, time and again, something or the other, whether in Institute A or B or C, in universities. These are the things which will bring more interest in youth. And once the youth is interested, then of course you look at cricket, look at the films, how without much effort, the youth gets attracted to these things. Once you find that the elections and the governance is also very interesting, I'm sure youth will not need any promotional activity from anyone.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
and the next question is, you have participated in many international conferences and seminars. So, how has global collaboration and exposure influenced your work? And also, what key lessons have you integrated into your professional practices from these experiences?
So, Lavanya, it is true that I got a lot of opportunity. As I said in the beginning, you get an opportunity in this service, not just at the ground level, at the district level, state, and the central level, but also international level. Now, when I say international level, uh, what is, when you come at the national level, particularly, uh, you promote India. And in order to promote India, you have to visit, other countries. Now, I was privileged to see a lot of world. I have been to Asia, to the China, Indonesia, Japan. I have been to the United States. I have been to Europe, France, Germany, all leading countries, Austria, Spain, Italy. Africa also, I had a chance to go to Ghana, and then of course Australia. So by and large, what happens is when you get an opportunity to visit other countries, it is definitely for a purpose. It is not just to acquire knowledge. So we used to go for conferences in tourism, in election commission, in other places. And what is required is that you learn a lot of international good practices. When you see the world, you get an exposure, and your exposure is very enriching, particularly for your knowledge, for your experience, for your confidence, and for your personality. Now, all these things, they help you in being a still better bureaucrat, a better officer, so that you can serve your country better. So some of the exposures that I've had, thanks to the government of India, is that I had a privilege to go to Harvard also two times. Now, basically, what we saw in Harvard University, uh, we kind of compared what India has and what the other countries have. So one also realizes that there are many things which India has and which Harvard doesn't have, and vice versa. So basically, you learn something which doesn't exist in India, and you also share what is in India, and they are not having it. And I would like to, tell you, very happy to to realize when we went to Harvard first time in 2010. Friends, I saw that even the Harvard professors were discussing about Indian economy. Now, that was the time when in 2008, this financial crisis had come all over the world, and USA was also reeling under financial problems. So at that time, India stood firm, and we had a good growth rate in economy at that time. So I was very happy to see that while we are in US in Harvard, the professors are asking, tell us what have you done in India. Now, what happens with this kind of feelers that you get is that you get confidence. You don't feel small. You feel that India is really talked about in other countries. That is one. Number two, you get a great opportunity to showcase your country. Like when I was in tourism, tourism is all about showcasing. So I used to go to quite a few marts, which were tourism marts, like World Travel Mark in London, then ITB in Berlin, then also in Spain. So all these marts, when we presented India, they were aghast. Basically, they were so amazed to see, that India has so many things. So the only thing why we have not been able to get that many tourist footfalls as Spain is getting, or for that matter, as Italy is getting, despite being very small, is because India has focused on tourism a little later than many other countries. In the 60s and 70s, we were focusing on agriculture dependence. Food was a big issue. Then we started industrialization. So giving employment, raising the poverty, bringing the people from poverty, now that was a bigger issue, and it was rightly done. Now that India is a running economy, a very strong economy, the focus is gradually increasing on tourism. Number two, when the focus is more, the infrastructure would be more. You will have more aeroplanes coming in. Now, unless you have enough airlines, unless you have enough seat capacity, how can people come to India? So all these reasons are there, which will gradually. And today, you also must be reading the newspapers today itself. I read, in one of the tourism experts has said the next decade belongs to India. So basically, we have showcased over the last many years, and which has resulted in the growth which I told you, in the initial question that you have made. So basically, and you learn a lot. When I went to France for the first time, I was very young. I was in 30s, and other than what I had gone there for, there was a board meeting of IFCO. But when I went to Paris, I saw the kind of cleanliness that they had. We don't find in India, and I'm talking of uh, almost 25, 30 years ago, 1996. I'm talking about. Now, at that time, when you came back, you're so influenced by what you see. So the urge for cleanliness was imbibed so much that in everything I would kind of see all these things. Plus the kind of public kind of emergencies. They had phone everywhere on the roads and all. Now I'm glad that after 30, 40 years we are seeing it in India. But basically, you see the success stories of the international countries, and you wish that they should come into India. Since you are a bureaucrat, since you are a policy maker, lots of such things which one has imbibed, which I have imbibed during my visits to other countries, I have tried to execute them, bring them in our own country, and increase the level and improve the level of our governance. So this, I think, Lavanya, I would say that has been very useful to be going to the international countries.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And you and you have also worked with various sectors, including legal consultancy also. So how do you approach consulting differently compared to your roles in public service? And what strategies have proven most effective?
So, Lavanya, I would say that my after I superannuated, retired from the Indian Administrative Service as Secretary Tourism, Government of India, and with prior experience in many sectors, I did law while I was working in the Election Commission. I thought let me add something more to my to my knowledge. So I did formal law, and I acquired a LLB degree from Delhi University. So now, with all these qualifications and experiences and knowledge, I thought that I cannot afford to, at the age of 60, just retire and go into oblivion without sharing what all I have experienced. It is my duty, and it is the time that I must share it with others. I have learned all these 35 years in the service, and the country spends so much of money on you. The country gives you such assignments, which are so responsible assignments. So whatever one has learned, so I have taken up multi-pronged activities as a consultancy. Firstly, I am consultant and advisor primarily in my core subject, which is tourism and travel and hospitality. And I advise lots of companies. I also advise governments at times. So that is one thing which gives me a lot of satisfaction. Then the other thing is that being in the IAS, I keep seeing so many lakhs of aspirants, IAS aspirants, trying for getting into civil services. You asked that first question. So I am into mentoring these IAS aspirants, and advising them how to approach the exam, what to prepare, how to appear in the interviews. So because we have done it, and I have also been part of the UPSC interview board, for the IAS and civil services. So one has the experience as to what kind of questions, what is the approach of UPSC, when they hold interviews. So I'm using that experience also into mentoring the IAS aspirants through mock interviews. So this is also lot of gives a lot of satisfaction. And when you get this news that the first, second, third toppers, of a particular year are ones whom you mentored, whom you kind of mock interviewed, you get greater satisfaction. In fact, for the last 3 years, if you are keeping a track of all the toppers, incidentally, in 2022 also, 23 also, 24, the first rankers in all these 3 years, they had all come to the academy where we mentor them and when we held those mock interviews. So you get the satisfaction that somebody who you told about how to appear in the interview and they have got the first rank in the country, that gives you additional satisfaction. Uh, Thirdly, I'm also, I've been on many committees, on industry chambers. For example, FICCI, you may have heard, CII, PhD Chamber of Commerce, ASSOCHAM. So they take our advice. And when we give advice, basically, we give the government perspective. They know about the industry and we give the government perspective. For them, it is very important how to advance. Same answer which I gave in the initial question of yours, that the government paves the way, government shows the way that you go this way, and that is what policies are. So it is very helpful. So I'm also advisor to these people, and then I also hold a kind of. We started a body called New Tourism Foundation. I'm the president of that foundation. Primarily, it's a think tank, to discuss about tourism, to address all the issues. So by and large, and also the law. I'm a legal consultant in some cases because I've done law, and I'm an advocate, a registered advocate. So these things are very good for me from the point of view of sharing my experiences for people like you. Number one. Number two, it keeps my mind and body, healthy and active, which is also very important. And thirdly, you are able to spend qualitative time, in your life. So all these things combinedly, I think, and I'm very happy about. I'm enjoying addressing to both of you. I'm seeing two youngsters, you know, who have a very bright career in their lives. And if even one point which I have shared with you, or maybe shared with your entire community, of podcast, uh, it will give me so much of happiness that we learned something from you like this. So this is the kind of satisfaction and motivation that I have while I'm addressing you.
So, and since we both are UPSC aspirants, so we would like to ask for advice. Like, what advice would you give to young professionals who want to enter into the public service sector or pursue a career in administration and governance?
So, Somanta and Lavanya, I'm very happy to know about where you want to go in your career, and I'm very happy to know that you are aspiring to get into the civil services, and I have my good wishes with you. I'm imagining yourself, when I did my MBA, I could have just settled down. I could have, I was happy. I had done my MBA from a very good university, FMS, and I had a good job also. But I didn't stop there. So you are both of you, and as I mentioned initially, that academically you must know that you are bright. That gives you a beginning. It's like it pushes you. Yes, you have the capacity to take this exam. Now, incidentally, you being both in one of the best institutions of this country, and you are academically bright, that is why you are here. So you certainly have very good chance. Now, incidentally, I'm reminded of those mock interviews, which I mentioned. This year in 2024, from January till March end, we mock interviewed friends about 1,000 IS aspirants. There were about 2,400 or so who were thrown into the last phase after main examination. So out of 2,400, we interviewed almost 40%. And out of them, a lot percentage were from IITs. So there is a close relation between, being an IITian and getting into civil services, primarily because IIT examination has already tested you, right? And in these 4 years, you will turn out brighter and more knowledgeable. So number one, you are quite capable of getting and trying. Now, secondly, my point, as I had mentioned earlier, it's up to you to try immediately while you are still studying, just after getting your degree, or you take up a job and then while you are doing your job, you simultaneously, try your hand in the civil services. Now, it depends on the background of each individual. If you have a strong financial background behind you, then of course you can take this risk. But if you think that no, everything is dependent on me when I would qualify and then I want to take up a job so that I can meet my expenses, then in that case, always stand on your own feet first and then try. You have a lot of chances to get into civil services, although the earlier the better. But you also need some knowledge, extra knowledge, in order to improve your personality. It is not purely an academic exercise. When you have these general studies examination, it is not just that you read the book and go. There are many things which you learn from your experience. So anyway, having said that, whichever way you select. Thirdly, I would say that you must consult some institution or some people who have already got into the IAS about what is the approach. Don't start on your own. Okay, you must get some consultation. I don't say you join a coaching institute and spend a lot of time. I'm not. People do it, and they emerge successful also. But depends on you. There are many online courses these days. But somewhere in some manner, you should be guided. That is my point. And when you are guided, it is not just the guidance for what you should read, what you should study. It is also the approach which is important, because time is always a constraint. So friends, some guidance, some holding your hand, somebody holding your hand and guiding you, but take out as much time as you can. I have seen that in formal coaching institutions at times, they spend a lot of time. Many of them, they come to Delhi. I think almost 30-40% of the aspirants, they land up in Delhi. They are lodged in, various places, and then they keep studying. There's no harm in that as well. But that life is a little challenging because you have to fend for yourself. You should have a good backup, backup support of your family, of your friends or whatever, so that you can spend more time in studies and less time in making food and what to eat, how to eat. So that is also very important. And fourthly, I would say that uh, your approach starts with what kind of questions are asked in the main examination, right? The prelims are a little tricky and very competitive, because when you have the prelims exam, it is so tricky that the maximum people sit in the prelims and a huge number is taken out. Almost 10% are selected. So you can say 90% are taken away. So that is a big picture. I have seen many toppers who could not clear the prelims initially. So you have to be very careful about the approach as to what you should study. Hands-on training will help you. In main examination, how you can concise, how you can understand a subject and write it down. That is important. And your third round of personality test, it is basically what your personality is, how positive you are. How would you address certain problems and issues that come before you while you are in the IAS. That would decide how many marks you would get. So in all, I would say that it's a long drawn exercise. If you appear once also, it takes almost a year's time. And if you are doing a job, then maybe you get less time. You have to do justice with the first job also. So, but it's a test of your how robust you are. It's a test of your patience. It's a test of your perseverance. But one thing which is common, which has to be there in whoever wants to get success, is that you should have extreme, utmost passion for getting it. If you're not having a passion from within, if you say that, oh, my mother wanted me to become an IAS, my father always dreamed that I should become an IAS officer, so I thought that I should take it. Now, that would not suffice. It has to be so passionate that you can fight with anyone. I do not know. I am appearing in the exam. Come what may. Now, that should be the passion to get into the service. And for that, you may have to spend 1 year, you may have to spend 2 years. But if you spend more than that, then you have to be sure that you are not out of date for your other jobs. Because as I said, there is always has to be a plan B. You know, you are an IITian, you can't spoil your career. You're already now. If you spend too many years, 3 years, 4 years without doing a job, then you may be outdated. So anyone who has to give you a job after that will think twice. Oh, he doesn't have any experience. So keep doing something along. So keep yourself growing. That is the point, apart from appearing in the civil services. So you have to be focused. You have to be passionate. That is my mantra for getting into the civil services.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Thank you. And is there any challenging decision you took during your career and how it impacted your leadership style?
So, Lavanya, I can recall uh, so many those challenges which I had and which I performed well. Some of them I have mentioned as tourism secretary, but my most I remember the most some of my postings in which one is the uh, collector of Jaipur, which was the state capital, and it was a very big district, and you are right under the nose of the government, the chief minister, and all. I also remember the work that I did in a district called Dosa, which was carved out of Jaipur district, and I was the first collector to be there. Now, as first collector, I had to establish everything, all the things in district. There was nothing there. So all the time, bringing up a district was a great experience. My third most important experience and contribution, I would say, which I liked, was the conduct of general elections 2014. It was so heavy charge at that time that one got a lot of exposure. At the same time, one got so busy, but then one was enjoying also. And one realized that you are doing a great job for this country, because don't forget, friends, a good elections means a good democracy. People will not have faith in democracy unless the elections are fair, free, and credible. So that is the satisfaction. And last but not the least, when I represented India in many countries as Secretary Tourism, that was one of the proud moments I had. Because when you sat against the Indian flag or the Indian kind of nameplate, you know, with India written before you in a foreign country, and you showcase your great country before the world, that is also a very proud moment. And last but not the least, serving the people at level of district, at the national level, at the state level, that has been the biggest achievement, I would say, that this service has given to me. And I revere that, and I cherish those moments when you, after having done something good for the public, and then when they come and thank you, when they show their gratefulness to you, when they show liking for you and they're happy, you cannot have better happiness than this particular feeling. So that is it, Lavanya and Sumanta.
Yes, sir. That was very inspiring. And the last question is, looking ahead, what opportunities do you foresee for India's tourism sector in a post-pandemic world?
So, Lavanya, as I had mentioned in my talk earlier, India is poised for one of the best times in tourism, and there are reasons for it. Firstly, whether pre-COVID or post-COVID, India has been a front runner as far as the strength of economy is concerned. We are the fastest growing economy today. We are the fifth largest economy and will shortly be the fourth, and maybe in the few years we can be even third. Now, with economy going, growing so fast. Now, what is economy? When you have money, when you have surplus money, when people are growing economically, they are able to shell out money also to spend. So tourism is nothing but a reflection of how strong the economy is. Right? Now, when I say strong economy, it means you have lots of visits of people. You have, people taking transports, people taking airlines, people visiting various cities for their business, for their work, because there are economic activities. With the result, with all these things, because tourism is not just going to Taj Mahal and coming back. Tourism it's a economic sector. It is a growth of economic. It is an engine of economic growth. Now, imagine when more the transport, more the airlines, more the aviation, more trains running would mean more and more employment for people. So India, with all these, requirements that is, needed for good economic, then infrastructure, the way we are developing our infrastructure, whether they are roads, whether they are national highways, expressways, whether they are airports, whether they are, cruises. Now, all these things are got, then whether they are, the good hotels, convention centers. You have seen one mandapam in Delhi, which has, we could host G20. Imagine, friends, we could host G20 countries and host at least 100 odd meetings and conventions before the final summit. That shows our strength in holding these mice activities and meetings. So in all, I would say, then another very important thing is that India is a peaceful country. You have war in the Europe, you have war in Middle East. Now India, people don't want to go to a place which is not peaceful. So India has remained calm and peaceful. Even we have recovered from the COVID faster than any other country. So all these factors, they augur very, very well for India's tourism sector. And you would see in the next decade, we are growing very fast, and we continue to we will gradually, and there are many other sectors. I don't want to tell you so many things because tourism is a very vast area. We are leaders in medical tourism now. People are coming to India to take treatments of various kinds. We are leaders in heritage tourism. We are leaders in natural tourism, Himalaya. So many things, religious tourism, yoga. You mentioned about yoga initially. Now, these are the areas, USPs I would call, of India tourism, which are going to help. And government, ministry, stakeholders, industry, everyone is trying to project these assets and these offerings of incredible India. And these are going to bring very good results, ladies and gentlemen. And for youth particularly, the Gen X and the young generation that we have, they are travelers. They are avid travelers today. And the technology has also transformed tourism. Today, if you have a smartphone, you can travel the whole world. So India is doing so well. UPI, Lavanya, UPI is so unique. Even the president of France came and he drank tea by paying UPI. We are exporting our UPI technology to other countries. So look at the how we are progressing and people like you, when you come out in the field and when you start bringing innovations in all the sectors, every sector is going to become very progressive. And of course, tourism, since I know a lot about tourism, we have a very bright future in the coming years.
Thank you, sir. As we come to the end of this enlightening episode, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to you for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Policy Podcast. We hope you found our conversation as insightful as we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumanta. Thank you, Lavanya. It was really a pleasure talking to both of you and sharing my experience, knowledge on all the subjects which you posed. And I'm sure that people of your institution, your public policy podcast group will certainly benefit. And it will also benefit all the young people like you who have a quest to rise and to grow and to make India a great country.